Welcome back to Crypto Down Under for another Bitcoin technical analysis video. This was the last update. Back over here, you may remember we were tracking the progress of a rising wedge, which did break out the top, causing us to invalidate this rising wedge as a bearish idea. We thought, well, at least I thought, that might be the start of, a larger or broader uptrend. However, we've had a bit of a slip and a tumble. The last update, we did come back into the rising wedge, and I was looking at a potential SR test, so support resistance test. So this is the resistance back here, which may act or can act as support in the future. And you can see where initially it tried to do that. So even after I finished filming that TA video on Bitcoin, that update, it did travel up for a few hours before it was this candle that really spelt the doom. That was a bearish engulfing hourly candle to really come down and test that level again. We had a couple of hours above it, but then we fell, 3 black crows right here. These candles here spelt, doom for that kind of scenario going up. So let me just hide the update tag here. Which one is it? Not these, this one. Okay. So where are we now? Now this is the hourly chart. We're definitely in a downtrend. There's no question about it. You can see that this was an uptrend, no doubt. This was still holding previous lows, this range. This was over the weekend. We discussed this on another video. But this range was holding things sideways. So no break of structure there. Now, once we broke below this low here, we had our downtrend start on the hourly chart. So we're back into a downtrend once again. So going through the time frames, let's just check. We have a critical low here and a significant double top high here. So that could produce a Fibonacci retracement. Let's do that. Let's see what that gives us. I haven't done this yet. Or maybe I have and I just forgot about it. But let me just lock this in. So we've got a high and a double top. We'll just use the highest high. That was a swing fail, which we discussed, where it goes a little bit higher just to stop people out and liquidate people, traders. So at the moment, as it stands, we're currently using the 382 fib level as some form of support. We're trying to, it sort of lines up with testing this pivot here. So that downtrend and that uptrend produced a pivot point, and we've been testing that. We've tested it twice basically. Could that be enough reason to go back up from here? Potentially. I'll have a look at the stock market as well in a second, and we'll just see if there's any kind of higher influence from there. But if this tumbles further, we've also got another couple of key levels to look at. Can you see that the 0.5 Fibonacci level falls exactly on $57,000? Exactly. There's no... It's just a big round number. It'd be a good number to test. It could be a bounce point. And there's a dotted line there. I think that's an old support line, probably just from that pivot. I'm thinking it. Yes, this one, this big pivot. So we had all-time high moving down to here. I think, oh no, wait. Yeah, no, that is the all-time high. All-time high moving down to here, it's a fairly major pivot point. That was our second attempt at creating a new high, at least from a higher time frame uptrend, and it failed. It got lower, so that's why I have this dotted white line. And then we've also got another pivot here, which depicts that pivot from the third attempt at a new high and failed again. This is why we got this red line, very nasty line. However, I still think on this time frame I can see the low that matters is this one at this point. Like just within, I'll just draw a box around the structure that we're in right now. Just around this run here, this low is what's holding it as an uptrend so far still. And I'll draw out why I think that. So I think that's what we got so far. Remember, the highs don't matter too much. It's all about the lows, and you have to just follow and track whether the lows are getting higher or lower. And right now, this is making an assumption that we have the low in. So if we were to bounce here, this is still a green line. This would still be uptrend on this time frame. So obviously, on lower time frames, this is an uptrend. This is a downtrend. This is an uptrend here. And then obviously we were just covered that this was a downtrend. So if you put all those together, you've got, A, B, C, D, E, and no structure has been broken. So we haven't changed the character of that yet. And that could happen. So we've got our eyes peeled. We're very close by. Could you see that a test of that level kind of lines up with a test of the 0.5 Fibonacci level and that macro pivot over here? Now that macro pivot is 56.5, and then the fib level is 57,000. So 56,500 and then 57,000. So that is like there's a high chance. I would say there's more than just 50-50. There's a higher chance that we do get a reaction at that level. Just because there's a high chance, it doesn't mean that it has to. So there's always the chance that it fails as well. But I think a bounce is more probable off that level, if it hasn't already started bouncing, than failure. So that's pretty much all I've got for Bitcoin right now. I said I'd have a quick look at the S&P, so let's do that. Just find the SPY chart. So we've got that macro trend line heading up thanks to these pivots there and there. Now this is, let me go to the daily, make it a bit easier to look at. Yeah, we had pivot A and pivot B testing and creating a trend line. We tried to use that trend line as a spot to bounce, but even there it struggled initially. It was a very dirty test of that trend line, and then we collapsed through it with huge gaps on the way down, which is, that basically demonstrates how much momentum there was to the downside at that stage. In very recent times, I think off the back of that positive rate cut, Fed funds rate cut news, we rocketed back up to get back up on top of the trend. Now, let me get this to a New York time frame. So we've had our, go down here, zoom in. So we've got Friday last week. We were looking pretty. We were, above things. Monday came around, and it was, not pretty uneventful. The Tuesday candle, similar. like still just ranging sideways before the all-time high, which is the pink line. And then now we're doing this dirty test of this trend line again. It's not looking too great at the moment. The Wednesday session just wrapped up, and we had basically a downtrend on the Wednesday session. So let's go to the 5-minute time frame. You can see Wednesday between here and here. So that's, I think, you know, that kind of activity on the S&P 500 produces, you know, a bearish or a down direction for Bitcoin. That's the sentiment at the moment on the stock market, is we've had this, you know, collapse looking thing, or this retracement back into a trend line, a major trend line. And that, I would argue, is why Bitcoin has had a similar kind of behavior, and that is that retracement. And we have you know, look, we've finally fallen out of this rising wedge. So maybe we can put that to bed now. We can say, okay, cool, the rising wedge situation has been resolved, and we can get on with it. And hopefully, you know, the Thursday, Friday session, the market decides whether it wants to get back up on top of this trend or not. And we'll see how that goes for the SPY, the S&P 500, and maybe even come up and test the all-time high. But we'll see. Now, one other thing I'll check is the calendar. Let's have a look. So we've got, this month has only a couple of days left, I believe. Yep. So this is in Australian time frame, time zone. It's the 29th here already. Preliminary GDP. So you've got advanced, preliminary, then final. So this is just the middle GDP reading, where they get it a little more accurate than just the advanced reading for Q2. Let's go next month. This is the month that matters. So the 11th of September, September 11, we've got a bit of an ominous day. We've got the CPI report. And then a few days later, on the 19th, we have the funds rate, the FOMC press conference. So this is where a lot of people are predicting or forecasting a cut, some kind of a cut. We just don't know how deep the cut's going to be to the rate, to the funds rate. As it stands, the current rate, the current Fed funds rate is 5.5%. It's the highest in the world at the moment. And yeah, I think they've decided it's time to start making a change and cutting that rate down. All right, I think I've gone on a little bit too long here. 13 minutes in. All right, thanks guys for checking out my latest Bitcoin update video, and remember to hit like and subscribe and leave a comment if you like, and I'll see you in the next one.